Joining us now is lawyer Pinky Anand, and let's try and understand the entire legal process now. Pinky ji, namaste. This is Anand Narsimhan here. Thank you for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. Mehul Choksi has been arrested in Belgium. The first preliminary report suggests that he has falsified documents, and his existence as an Indian citizen and the cases against him and what's happened in Antigua has not been divulged to the Belgian authorities. How do you read the situation, and from here on, how soon or how late will it be that he is brought back to Bharat or extradited?
Ultimately the position is when a person is arrested and he is accused of a crime in India, then the extradition process has to start and ultimately end up into a position where he's brought to India. And we are, of course, very fortunate. We have an immediate background of Mehul Rana, who was brought in, of course, in a different context. This is a huge scam, issue of a commercial nature, no doubt. But the point remains that here you will have to have him. He's appealing. He's asking for mercy on grounds of cancer treatments and from what the reports indicate, and also on the ground that he may not get a fair trial, which is a usual plea, as you've seen, taken up by Vijay Mallya or even the Mehul Rana. Broadly the same kind of arguments. But we have an extradition treaty with Belgium, and that treaty ultimately envisages certain exceptions, and to my mind, he doesn't fall within those exceptions. Now, for example, some of them are political, military, and other things. He doesn't really fall in that. And as long as there is no ground, then I think it depends on the will of the governments also. I do think the will of the governments, which are under consideration, is a very important thought process in the whole thing happening. I again give the example of Rana. I think aside from other features, he tried every plea in the book to not be extradited to India. But all of those pleas were rejected. And on the other hand, you have Vijay Mallya, who is still in England. And it is ultimately, I believe, at the stage of the government acceptance of the extradition. So, as I said, to my mind, there seems to be no impediment legally for him to be brought to India under the extradition treaty. But of course, it will go through its own process. And once he's brought to India, naturally, he will be tried in accordance with law for the entire process of commercial mishaps, scams, 13,000 crores, cheating the people, duping the people, the conspiracy, which are
Well, the top line of the Bharat-Belgium extradition treaty says allows transfer of fugitives accused of serious crimes such as murder, rape, manslaughter, bigamy, forgery, counterfeiting, embezzlement and fraud. So last 4 or 5 clauses Mr. Mehul Choksi ticks as far as the charges against him. So in this case, is this now more about the political equation between the two nations, a certain level of diplomacy that comes into play?
It always comes in. In matters of international spheres, it is not only the legal process, it is definitely the diplomacy also that matters. And at this present point of time, I think India is very fortunate. Our diplomatic relations internationally are well known, and our credibility in its own and sovereignty is well taken into consideration. I think everybody really wants to cooperate. So let's hope that Belgium will cooperate under the extradition treaty on the diplomatic level. Of course, legal processes will happen, not that they won't happen. If he's asking for pleas on the ground of being, let's say, tortured in India or requiring medical treatment of cancer, suddenly it's come up. I haven't heard this before. But all these usual pleas again, when you have accused, we do have them raising pleas of medical grounds one way or the other, and it's known of. But whether that is actually correct or not correct, and whether that will merit any human rights, because this is the ground. Human rights, political, no due process of law, torture in jail in India. I mean, these are the fatal grounds that have been coming up. But to my mind, I don't envisage this becoming an impediment, and I think he will be extradited shortly as soon as the legal process is on route.
Well, he's tried a lot of, after Antigua rejected his citizenship and said he's persona non grata. He tried to go to Dominica. He tried to see if he could function in those Caribbean islands and those nations somewhere. Interesting that it is via his wife that he's actually reached Belgium. And also the ongoing proceedings. The information says 22nd of March, his lawyers in Bharat informed the courts that Mehul Choksi may be in Belgium for treatment. So clearly they are aware of what's going on.
Well, you're right. I mean, there have been, I would say, not only Antigua, but I would say antiques that are tried. So you have, in fact, we all know that he tried the plea of saying that he was abducted in Dominica. He didn't go of his own will. So, I mean, you find all these pleas being taken. As I said, if you see criminal offences, even regular ones, they are not treated as crimes. They are treated as misdemeanors. And I think the courts will You find people suddenly developing medical problems. You suddenly find people alleging some kind of conspiracy against them. It is very standard because you want to really be prevented from being tried in India, because that is where the offence has occurred, and he would be ultimately prosecuted here, and whatever the punishment that the law has for each of these misfeasance, scams, and conspiracies and fraud, as you rightly said, it comes squarely within the provisions of the extradition.
Now,
So having said that,
Ji, please
having said that, I mean, I see no ground why it would not be he would not be extradited.
Well, in your wisdom, do you see the Belgium authorities, the Belgium government, or allowing him to knock the courts in Belgium, or will they honor the extradition treaty and hand him across to Bharat without any more further legal tangles and proceedings in Belgium? How do you see this panning out, and would you want to hazard putting out a timeline here, 6 months, 1 year, or sooner?
I would imagine that he would have the recourse to law. One thing we all pride ourselves in the country as well as internationally is the process of law. So whatever you may say, ultimately whether my position is that he won't succeed, but he does have the opportunity to at least plead the necessary part in the courts. I mean, as I said again, in Rana's case, he tried it 3 times over. It's not that he didn't try. So everybody would try and he would be granted. He has to be heard. Whatever it is, whether dismissed, my belief is that it would be dismissed because of the background of the information that we all have received regarding his transfers to various places, the sudden development of medical problems. So his past record doesn't seem to be all that clean to entitle him for any benefits whatsoever. But yes, about 6 months, some legal processes would take some time. It's not that you can pick up an accused and straight away extradite him. He has the right to go even under the extradition treaty. I mean, I do believe that he's also trying to raise a ground of political nature. Sustainable or not, to my belief, not. But he would be raising almost anything in the book. So that due process of law would take some time. I would imagine something like 6 months.
Well, 13,000 crore is no small amount, and even the Belgians would agree there, hopefully. And the other aspect is in terms of cancer treatment, we've got some of the topmost cancer facilities in Bharat. So might as well bring him to justice and also help him find a cure here sooner than later. Pinky Anandji, thank you very much.